Coming to you live from downtown Detroit, this is Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep with your host, Joel Elconin.
This is a volatile puppy here, isn't it?
And Dennis Dick.
I'm bidding a penny. I will buy the stock for a penny.
With everything you need to start your trading day. All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to this Tuesday edition of Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep. Spencer Israel, Joel Elconin, Dennis Dick with you as always. What are we talking about today? We're talking about the banks. We had a very unsurprising spew of headlines last night. They're all, or most of them, are raising their dividend and doing some buybacks. We knew that was going to happen, right? So we're going to talk about how those stocks all traded in the after-hours session. We're going to talk Facebook. We'll talk options with Nick Chahine from Create Income with Option Spreads and SellSpreads.com when he joins the show at 8:35. In the meantime, do us a solid. Drop us a like if you can. Hit subscribe to get notified when we go live on this show. Joel, how are we doing? It seems like a relatively quiet overnight session. Is that a fair assessment?
Fair assessment. S&P futures are down 250 at 42.78. Crude's flat at 72.91. Gold's down 10.80 at 17.70. Silver's down 22 cents at 26.03. Bitcoin's up $1,000, let's call it, 35,500. And Ethereum is up $49.75 at 21.75.
All right. We were just talking before we hopped on here, trying to figure out, plan of action for the show. And I want to start with the banks. I know that Dennis traded the banks yesterday. We had a feeling that this is going to happen.
Yeah.
And the banks are going to come out and increase their dividends and do some buybacks because on Thursday, if you can remember all the way back to Thursday, Federal Reserve said, you guys all passed our latest round of the stress test. You guys are all good. Do it. You have our permission to go ahead and return some money to shareholders and do all that good stuff. So we got those headlines yesterday after the close. All the big banks except for Citi came out and announced they're raising their dividends. Some of them are doing buybacks as well. In chronological order, let me just go from earliest to latest here as far as the headlines are concerned. Morgan Stanley was the first one out. Here's the Benzinga Pro newsfeed. I'll make it bigger for you.
Make it bigger.
All right.
I can't see.
I'll make it even bigger. There we go.
There you go. Now I can
Morgan
see it.
Stanley was out at 4:30. They announced a quarterly dividend raise from 35 cents to 70 cents per share. So they doubled their quarterly divvy. They announced a $12 billion buyback as well. They were followed by JP Morgan a few minutes later, raising their dividend from 90 cents to $1 per share. Bank of America up 18 cents to 21 cents. Goldman Sachs, $1.25 to $2. And then Citi, no change to their dividend. Oh, and then Wells Fargo, 10 cents, 20 cents, and a buyback of $18 billion. So all the major banks raising their dividend except for Citigroup and a couple of buybacks as well. They all traded higher in yesterday's after-hours session, at least off the bat.
Yeah.
I know they all came off those highs, but they were all trading higher, and this just makes me shake my head because we knew this was going to happen.
Yeah. Well, it was widely expected. We talked about it in the show. I don't know if we talked about it yesterday morning, but we talked about it on Friday, that it was widely expected that Monday night was going to be the day that they were going to come out. I mean, they said on CNBC, Kramer said it, multiple people said it everywhere, that it was probably going to be Monday night that they're going to come out with their dividends and their buybacks. So I was long a bunch of these banks just in anticipation of, that nothing ever seems to get priced in this market. And that was the case here once again.
Yep.
Morgan Stanley came out and I was like, oh boy, this is going to be really good, because it was long basically all of the banks coming in just for overnight trades because expecting this. Morgan Stanley comes out and kills it, doubles the dividend, puts the big buyback in there. The stock just starts ripping, going up 2-3 points. All the other bank stocks start ripping on the Morgan Stanley number. Like if you bring up the chart of Wells Fargo and that initial bar, Joel, Wells Fargo going up to 46.40, Citigroup ripping higher because they're all expecting, Morgan Stanley doubling the dividend. They're all going to double the dividend. So what happens? JP Morgan comes out basically next. STT comes out, but people aren't looking as much at State Street. But the next big one, JP Morgan, and they only raise it by a dime. And I'm like, I'm long JP Morgan at this time. And maybe go to the JP Morgan chart first. I'm long JP Morgan. It's up $1 because of Morgan Stanley. And I'm just looking at it and I'm thinking, that's not good enough. So I turned around and sold my long after hours at 55.30, I think. So it was up $1 and it turned around in the next 2 to 3 minutes and actually went red. So you got what happened is Morgan Stanley comes out first and they're the best one, and they set the bar too high for the other ones because everybody was now expecting huge dividend increases. So if you would have had JP Morgan coming out first with the nice little dividend increase, the nice little buyback, instead of Morgan Stanley coming out with the boom, we're doubling the dividend and putting a huge buyback in, expectations could have been lower. But the best one came out first, and then expectations started to obviously come higher for all the other banks. They couldn't meet those higher immediate expectations. And a lot of those banks ended up actually turning to the red. JP Morgan went red. Bank of America gave it all back. It has went red. Citigroup didn't do anything. They said they're intending to do stuff, but they didn't do anything imminently. So they went red. Goldman Sachs was really good. So Goldman Sachs actually increased it substantially too. So that's why they're trading higher. But disappointing for me, because I was long some of these banks and I turned around, I was holding, I'm hoping there's going to be big double dividends, and I was like, no. So I ended up obviously turning around and selling most of my other banks just after the JP Morgan report, because you could see they just all started leaking. So thought it was going to be a really big night for being long bank stocks. It was okay. But the Morgan Stanley was really the main mover. So I wish Morgan Stanley wouldn't have reported first, because I think these banks would have performed better if Morgan Stanley wouldn't have set the bar so high.
Go, Joe.
I was just going to say the JP Morgan, they've been pretty conservative. Jamie Dimon's been conservative as far as, what they're doing with their cash, looking farther on down the line. So I think that doesn't come as much as a surprise. They didn't do much because he's been, doing the cash hoarded stuff. Yeah, it looks like just the big banks that Goldman and Morgan are the ones that are having the nice gains, nice pops, but they both have pulled back.
Yeah, it's all just on those expectations. It came right down to, you're raising your dividend by 10 cents, not good enough. You're raising your dividend by 75% in the case of Goldman Sachs, or 100% in the case of Morgan Stanley, way good enough. Wells Fargo came out almost last out of the big ones, And it was solid. They doubled the dividend, but from 10 cents to 20 cents. And people were like, it's still only a 20-cent dividend, so the quarterly dividend. So they didn't really see that great. Huge buyback, too. It actually did pop up, but again, Morgan Stanley, you set the bar too high. Would have been an awesome night for the banks. And Morgan Stanley killed it. Morgan Stanley having a great morning, and they're holding on because they did more than anybody else. So doubling dividend, huge buyback. So it's up 3%, which is deserved. Like I said, I wish the other ones would have. I wish it wouldn't have came out in that order.
It's kind of going to court, like earnings expectations.
It is.
It's all just baked in 15 minutes or so. Expectation set high, bar really high, and then not being able to clear it.
Everything is all about expectations. The entire market, really, when you get a fundamental event, it's all about expectations. And because what Spencer was saying, we actually were expecting. It wasn't unexpected that this news came out last night. The market was expecting that there was going to be, the banks were holding up fairly well yesterday, despite the TLT ripping higher. We know there's an inverse correlation between the TLT and the banks, and the TLT was way up, which normally means the banks would be way down, but some of the banks were actually holding on to green, and a lot of them weren't down that much. Most of them were down, but they weren't down that much, and that probably is because there are people expecting the dividends and buybacks. And you get those expectations coming in, Morgan Stanley beating what the expectations were, because I don't think anybody's expecting them to double their dividend. But then the next one's coming out and adding 10 cents, State Street adding 10 cents. And it's like, okay, well, that's just not good enough. Not good enough after Morgan Stanley, what they did. So, I mean, that's what this market is all about. It's not about the bottom line. It's about the expectations on the bottom line, or it's about the expectations into the event, and do they beat the expectations? But those bars can change very quickly. And when you get the Morgan Stanley one, boom, it's like, that's why I sold my JP Morgan up $1. And I wish I would have turned around and went short. I didn't do that, but I sold out my long because I'm like, looking at that 10-cent raise, I'm like, oh, that's not going to be good enough. And it hung up there. Like I was 2-3 minutes ahead of that trade, but then they started to catch on. It's like, oh, no, I'm not feeling it. And then they started hitting it down and actually went red. So JP Morgan has come back and gone green slightly here this morning. TLT's red. That's a little bit to do with it. But for the most part, it was actually slightly disappointing, though, I would say. Besides the Morgan Stanley, I was disappointed in, the
price action.
Yeah, the price action off of relatively good news.
You talk about expectations. Let's just be a lesson that even if a headline is, you think a headline is known ahead of time, does not mean the market won't react. I mean, Citigroup didn't even do anything last night, and yet they traded. They popped on initially. They popped on
the Morgan Stanley.
Right. So you had a shot. If you were listening to the show Thursday or Friday or yesterday, you heard about this. You had a shot in every single bank, even the one that didn't end up doing anything. I know that Citi's lower this morning, and I think Wells is as well, or Wells is flat. But you had a shot in all of them, even if you think, oh, the market already knows about this.
Yeah,
not always the case.
No, I told you, this is a simplistic market. The price is in nothing. We've been talking about that for a while too. And it really is. Like, you think, oh yeah, the market knows about this. It's all priced in, and we did know about it. I mean, it was widely expected. Like, we didn't know for sure, but it was widely expected they were going to do something last night.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was said in multiple media sources. We said it as well. We all had the feeling it was going to be Monday night. And it was, and they came out with the capital raises. And like I said, I don't remember if I was saying this on this show or not, but somebody was saying, why wouldn't they come out Friday night and do it? Companies don't come out with good news unexpectedly on a Friday night.
Never.
They come out with bad news on Friday nights. Why is that? Because the traders have all gone home. So if you want to drop, a crappy news headline, Friday night is when you do it. You want to drop an awesome, good headline, Monday night is when you do it, because the traders are fresh from the weekend. They're staying late. They're just getting, started their week, and that's when they drop the good news. So unexpected good news comes out on Monday nights. Unexpected bad news comes out on Friday nights. So it was very unlikely that they were going to come on Friday night and do it. That's why we all have Monday pegged. So, but, there is some good pops in here. Morgan Stanley. One thing to consider is that they actually ran up into the event too. I know yesterday they were down a little bit into it, again, because of the TLT, but Wells Fargo was $41 a week ago, and it got up to 46, 46.65 on the move. I mean, that's a big move. Now, that as a nice dividend increase, it's a nice buyback, but today's a very important day. these stocks need to hold on to these gains. You don't want to see Wells Fargo turn around and start going red, because what do I have to look forward to? Yes, bank earnings are coming, so maybe you do have something to look forward to in 2 weeks. But this market always wants something to look forward to. They were looking forward to these stress tests because they knew they were going to beat them, and they were looking forward to some dividend increases and buybacks. We have a lot of that information out there now. Yep. The market always wants something to look forward to. That's the catalyst to drive things higher. Without that catalyst, now for the next couple of weeks before bank earnings, what's going to be the driver here? So I'm somewhat concerned. I've sold all of my bank stocks here. Besides a couple that I have in the long-term account, all the short-term trades, though, I've sold for now.
All right, let's talk about this rotation that we had yesterday. Some wicked rotation into tech, out of energy, out of the banks we just talked about for 15 minutes. But I mean, what do you make of that, guys?
Same thing. We just continue to go to what has worked. You could say, we got a few worries here. There were some airstrikes. We got a few other worries. Obviously, we got some variants with COVID. That's not great news. We can see the UK cases climbing a little bit there. So it's in the back of everybody's mind a little bit that are we really past COVID? But what works in both environments? Tech. So money managers are looking, I'm not so confident in the reopening trade right now. We can see that in the price action. I mean, we have been hit really, really hard on a lot of the reopening stocks. American Airlines breaking down yesterday. We talked about it, that it was down here for too long. I was going to buy it after day 2 because I thought it was putting that nice little double bottom. But once it put 4 or 5 lows in the same area, it almost always takes out those lows. It did it yesterday. The reopening trade, Carnival Cruise Lines, RCL, hammered yesterday. So the reopening
Carnival
trade
has
been put on
they had an
pause.
offering. Carnival had an offering too.
Yeah, but RCL didn't, Joel. And RCL was down $5.
Right.
So I mean, this is just, even the cruise lines, they had a couple cases again. There's a couple crew members, and then there's a couple kids that had COVID. It's going to be a hard thing to control, and that's what the market's starting to see, is that this reopening trade, which we had priced in for awesomeness, isn't looking like it's going to be as awesome as we might thought it was. So I think, going back to Spencer's original question, is this market is going to what it knows works in both environments, and that's tech. And tech continues to make new all-time highs. Clear rotation yesterday, obviously out of the cyclicals, out of the value trade, out of the reopening trade, and straight into tech.
Yeah.
Holy, you guys are quiet today. I'm doing all the talking. That's normal, but
Dennis, Trent says you talk like you're arguing with someone. No, that's just how Dennis talks.
That's how I talk. I'm loud.
This is how Dennis talks. I don't know, Joel, do you have any thoughts on any of that?
I noted it a couple weeks ago that these reopening trades were coming off, and it kind of looked like a buy the dip opportunity. I think one important thing to take a note from the American Airlines is, they let you buy it down there at 22, right? That many times. And then you settled, and then when you started settling in the lower quadrant, also you had some bad Boeing news yesterday, it makes a difference whether they hit the area, then they bounce 30, 40, 50 cents, or then they only bounce 15 cents, or they bounce 20 cents. So that was the scenario with American Airlines yesterday. I know United's making a bunch of moves now, buying a bunch of planes, and boy, oh boy, I would look at it on the monthlies. A lot of resistance in these things. I hope that United knows what they just bought, like 254 planes or something, and they're redoing all the other planes. They're spending a lot of money, and they already have a lot of debt. So, of the airlines, I think UAL is the one I'd probably stay the farthest away from.
Yeah, they were just touting the largest order in their history this morning. I think 270 aircrafts from Boeing and Airbus.
Nice snapback rally, but a lot of bag holders caught in this thing. So, and let's see what it can do at yesterday's high, 245.
Okay, let's go to, there's a few other things I wanted to get to, but I do want to do a better job of getting to more stuff from the chat today, so I'm keeping a closer eye on that. Justin just asked, and it's related to what we're talking about. So, speaking of tech, what are your thoughts on Micron?
Well, it has earnings. So typically we do see a run up into the earnings report. That has been working very well. You got 85 huge resistance, and now expectations are slightly higher because we were $76 on this stock 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 trading sessions ago. Now we're 83.5. So the run up, the earnings run up has happened. That has raised expectations. They better beat it, and they better beat it big time, because if they don't, they'll give it back in a hurry. Micron reporting Wednesday night.
Yes.
Late to respond in the tech rally for some reason. A lot of these other stocks had already left and made their low. That just made a new low for the move last week and turned up. So getting a lot of room on the upside here if they can beat. It just it took a while to turn. Trading only up 11 cents here in the pre-market.
Yeah, speaking of earnings, it is a really quiet earnings week.
Very quiet.
I know we had a couple earnings reports, but I don't think anything that anyone really follows too closely.
Micron, Walgreens,
widely traded.
ST Zebra, Triple BY reports Wednesday. This is one of the slowest earnings week. This calm before the storm. We're gonna, end the quarter this week. We're gonna get bank earnings. I don't think next week. I think it's the week after, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the week of the 14th.
Yeah, so you're 2 weeks. You're 2 weeks out from the start of earnings season. We're gonna have a lull. So this is just seasonality at its best. You're going to go into holiday trade after we get by the end of the quarter, which is always a big event. That's going to be tomorrow night. Then you're going to have a week and a half of quietness because it's going to be holiday trade. There's not a lot of catalysts. Obviously, there can always be unexpected events, but what's scheduled is really not much. And then obviously, you have the jobs report, which will help a bit. But the jobs report's this week. So after this week, you get the end of the quarter and you get the Friday, next week's going to be very quiet. So I wouldn't be buying, my options. I'd be actually selling options into the next week and a half. I think volatility will come in, at least until we get to that next earnings print.
We're off on Monday. So even with the jobs number, I would presume that the rest of this week, Friday especially, is going to be quiet. I know we have a number, but, it's going to be a 4-day weekend for some people. So I think it'll be really quiet this weekend next. You're right. Well, let's talk about Facebook here. Joel and I discussed this at the closing show yesterday. The news, I think, broke while we were on, Joel, or just before you came on. Big win for big tech, big win for Facebook. The FTC has a month to refile their case, but for the moment, a court has ruled that the antitrust case against Facebook was just too damn broad, not specific enough as it pertains to Facebook's acquisitions of Instagram and WhatsApp. So, for the moment, win for Facebook.
Big win for Facebook. Big win for probably all big tech. But this is a huge breakout here for Facebook. New all-time highs. It was quiet. It got the headline it wanted to get. And boom, you have another $1 trillion company here. Tim Tim Quast on Monday saying we're very close to the 5 points we needed. I think he said it was 345 maybe is what the number was that made it the $1 trillion company. But we have the fifth one that joins the club, I believe, here now in the trillionaire club. Zuckerberg, obviously, now 356, trading up here again. It's a clear breakout. Breakouts have not been working great in this market. That's one thing to consider. I don't know if I'm chasing it up 15 points, but maybe does a little back and fill in, give you a shot. I don't want to be short any stock that's making new all-time highs either, though.
Not giving much back, not much at all. Trading up 61 cents at 356 and a quarter. So trading up, follow through, even after that big day yesterday.
All right, let's go back to the chat. Willed Roy dropped us a couple bucks, asked for our thoughts on Beachbody. The SPAC conversion happened yesterday, so I don't know. I don't know. These SPACs are weird. I don't know if your chart will go back before yesterday, Joel, or if it'll only stop or start at yesterday, or if it'll go back to when it was the SPAC. Looks like it goes back a little ways, which is good because my chart doesn't go back before yesterday. But new ticker BODY. Previous ticker FRX. We've talked about this on our channel on other shows. It's the Beachbody company. We had the CEO on SPACs Attack a while ago. Outdoor or not necessarily outdoor, but in individual fitness, I think is the play here. I don't know if either you have thoughts on that chart.
I always like that Tony Horton guy.
Yeah,
does he still work for Beachbody? Do we know?
Yeah, doesn't he?
Is he still involved in Beachbody? That was P90X, obviously, back in the day. But that's a nice run here for a SPAC. You typically don't see these SPACs respond this well to... When did they actually change the symbol?
It was like yesterday or the day before.
Yeah, you don't usually see them respond this well to it. Mitch, some of the SPAC conversions they've been pretty quiet on. Why is this one popping more? Is Mitch still there?
It's a new pattern, man. You got to stick with the SPACs Attack. We talk about this.
Okay, well, what's the next one?
All right, so right now I got you.
These are the new
I
patterns.
got
So
you.
I'm
Look,
this
I got one
already
right
went.
now. FCAC.
FCAC.
Don't worry about it. Write it down.
When is this one gonna go?
Write it
change
down.
symbols.
Whoa.
FCAC.
Look at
When's
that.
this one gonna
Look at
change
that
symbols?
daily. Holy cow.
Yeah, but they all look like this. All the
No.
SPACs just hug $10.
Yeah.
Like the
And-
ones that
and-
haven't converted over. Like we know the Fiskers and stuff and Space, those aren't really SPACs anymore. But
Yeah.
the ones that are still like they're post announcement, but they're still SPACs.
Yeah.
They just sit here and they hug $10 forever. I had a bunch of them. I'm like, I'm just sick of my money doing nothing, and I sold a lot of them. If we're gonna start to get some love in these things, I'll get interested in again. So when does this FCAC? Well, who are these? Who are they becoming? I don't even know that. And then secondly, when do they convert?
Converts today would be the vote, and it's
Okay.
going to be to share care.
What is
I got
share
this.
care?
It's like a health stock.
Okay.
I have this at, guess what? $10 exactly.
Well,
10
everybody
0
else
0 0.
2 months has it at $10. But
Boom.
you're buying these just in anticipation of the deal announcement, like the vote, the good vote, and then getting
Exactly.
the pop on that.
I got the first pop in FRX that changed over to body, and then I was able to sell into that first pop. Then it came back to 10. Probably should have rebought it and then just sold it into this move. But hey, missed out on this one. But it's definitely a pattern, and we're definitely seeing the leader to this pattern was SoFi.
Is that who was the
That
leader?
was the
SoFi?
first one to make the move that
Okay.
started changing this kind of pattern.
SoFi's
and started
also
giving love.
SoFi's also doing some Wall Street bets things here this morning or the past couple of days.
Yeah, the Wall Street bets have been giving it love.
Yeah, which is great for me, but I'm still underwater.
Mitch, where do we get this list of like who is going to? Is there a spot in the pro, or is there a spot somewhere that tells you whose votes are coming up? Is there a list? Chat too. You can help me with that as well.
Tell you what, there's nothing better. Tune in today. The SPACs attack. We got the July calendar. We're going to be going through every single SPAC that has a vote date in July. So tune in today.
11 o'clock.
That's going to be that show. Exactly that.
I know
Okay.
one. I know one that's on that list is CCIV. It has their vote coming
Ding,
up.
ding, 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 ding,
It's
ding.
a harder one.
You got a winner.
Yeah,
But it's a harder one because it's not 10, so you don't have the floor. So I love the 10 floor because I can see where my risk, obviously once they go post and they merge, they get to take out the 10 floor. But it seems like they still kind of got this 10 floor. I mean, even Fisker, when it was coming all the way down, where at the bottom, 10. I mean, the 10 number is just such a huge number for anything that was SPAC or, it is still SPAC. 10 is just huge. This is 27, so you don't have that 10 floor to lean on. You have market risk in this thing. The market rolls over. They decide it could start to roll over too. But I like those 10 setups because I feel like I kind of got a floor. Don't you think the same, Mitch? Like, protects you a little bit more. Not that anything is a solid floor, but
10%. It's not giving back. Like, and I'll just be honest.
$10, not 10%.
I'll just-
10
Yeah,
bucks.
no, but I'll be honest. These moves haven't been like, let's say, just be real. It's not like a 40% move. It's usually like $1 or $2 pop on this.
Yeah.
So you're
yeah.
talking 10%, 20% move from that
I like
$10. But that's not a bad gain. I'll take it when I can get it.
And people are asking me that question. What's your average percentage you make on a trade? I have absolutely no idea that answer to that question. But I know in my scalping account, it's a hell of a lot less than 10%. I'll tell you that. 10% trades are good trades. So my scalping account, it's fractions of a percent. But, obviously that's a different, account. In my swing trading account, I usually try to, risk 2-3%, trying to go for 5, 6, 7%. Like in the case of Alibaba, I got a 7% winner. I was risking about 2%. So I try to do that 3 to 1. But I love, when I, little 10% gainers. So some of this calendar, I'm going to listen in here.
There's one more that you guys can look that just did this pattern, ELMS. This is Electric Last Mile Solutions.
Oh man,
just switched over on the 24th. Also with FRX, had their vote date the same day.
Yeah.
And look at that chart, ELMS.
SPACs are back. Some of these SPACs are back.
It's just a pattern.
That's all trading is, Mitch. Ding, 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 ding. Awesome. It's just a pattern. That you could write that down. Write that down because you know what? That's all that matters in trading is the patterns, pattern recognition. Basically, what I do for a living and why I'm fairly consistent is that I recognize patterns. You bring us a pattern on the show, I'll take note of it. I start to see that pattern too, I'll implement it. So, I mean, this is what good traders do, always changing on the fly, new patterns. Like some hold true for so long. Like I always talk about the TLT versus the banks, the inverse correlation there. It's a pattern. It's a pattern. Is it always related? When I was in school, they taught me that higher interest rates, they taught the exact opposite. The higher interest rates were bad for banks. But that was a completely different environment because interest rates were 10% back then. So, and now they teach you the exact opposite. So, I mean, things change over time, but pattern recognition is everything in trading. Identify the pattern, you can make some money.
You're not just talking, you're talking like the news flow. You're not so much.
And everything in life, Joel. Life is a pattern. Patterns. Like that's what I say. My wife, or people asking you what I do. I specialize in pattern recognition. And I do it, through life, even, different things. I look for patterns, that's what, it's my skill set, really. I'm not skilled in a lot of different things, but I'm fairly skilled in pattern recognition. And I think that is the character trait of good traders. You're always scrambling around and just listening to somebody else or taking a hot stock tip from somebody else. You're always the follower. You're always going to be late to the party. You're going to be the one that's probably going, and sometimes it works, oh, give me the hot stock tip. That's what everybody wants. Literally 95%, 19 out of 20 people that contact me or reach out to me. What do you think of this stock? Or what's your stock pick? They want the hot stock tip. But that's not what it's about. Mitch is giving you so much more information here. Patterns. He's not telling you this stock. Yeah, he says, okay, this one's coming up. But he's giving you a pattern. Patterns are money. That's what's money, not a stock tip. Going and following, whoever on social media because they're going to give you the next hot stock tip. That will work in the short term sometimes if somebody gets really hot. In the long term, nobody stays hot forever. So, but if you can identify those patterns and get that right and get that skill set to identify patterns before the broad market identifies them, you make some money.
Like one thing I like to say around here, we joke about a lot, is like the Allen Iverson, that quote about practice. Like, what do you need practice for? Well, I got a new one. I'm going to say pattern. That's what I'm going to say now. Instead of the Allen Iverson practice, I'm going to say pattern. Yeah. What is the pattern? But that's funny.
All your good technicians are the same. They're just doing patterns on charts. I do some patterns on charts too, and not head and shoulders and stuff. They're just looking at, what has been working. Gil Morales is the absolute best at it because he recognizes when different types of patterns are working, and he's always ahead of it. Like we're talking, he's talked last year and a half, breakouts haven't been working. He's recognized that pattern. People are going textbook breakout, I'll go buy it. And then they lose money and they're like, why am I losing money? Because that's not the pattern that's working right now. And I'm not just talking stock patterns. What Mitch is giving you is not anything to do with the chart. What Mitch is giving you is that he's noticed a pattern that they're starting to buy these things ahead of the vote because of anticipation. There's an event.
So this rant could be worth it, guys. Smash that like if you guys enjoy us giving patterns. And this is what this show really is all about on Pre-Market Prep. Education, learning process, and learning from the pros. I mean, you guys got Dennis Dick here, Joel Elconin, with such experience in different types of market. That's what I always love and learn from these guys every single day.
I can't wait for the next bear market because that's where my experience really pays off. Because that's everybody makes money. Everybody makes money in a bull market.
No one cared about us.
Bubbles getting bigger, wealth created. Everybody's a winner in a bull market. It's true. I look at my long-term portfolio. I'm not even that good at stocks, but like 97 out of 100 stocks were up in my long-term portfolio back in January. They came in because some of the growth stocks got hit, but that wasn't because I'm a genius investor. It's because we were in a wicked bull market. Everything's at highs. But now you're starting to see different, reopening trades getting hit. There's separation happening. There's different patterns happening, and identifying those patterns and getting ahead of it. And we're not always ahead of it. Sometimes we're behind it. And then you got to correct, and you got to take, your losses, and you move on. I was wrong about that idea. Let's move on that idea. I was loaded up with SPACs in January, Mitch. We talked about it. Everything was working SPAC. I buy these things ahead of the deal announcements, and then they weren't getting the pops on them anymore. Okay, the patterns changed. Once the patterns change, you identify it and you trade differently if the patterns change. But that's what trading is all about. It's all about patterns.
I can't speak for the rest of you, but I am a genius investor. So
I mean, your algos
the exception to the rule.
your algos too. I mean, a lot of them are just pattern breaking, just to the end, but they're executing on milliseconds and looking at really short term patterns. So that's they're in, they're out, they're in, they're out. So it's a good point. Gold, I don't know what's happening to gold here, but it's down $15, bearing down on the low of the move. So keep an eye on your gold stocks if you're long them.
All right.
Just one more thing. Lawn process. We've beaten this to death. Stop talking patterns. But what was it? It was Lee Iacocca that says, "Tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them."
People don't remember Lee Iacocca.
You got to pound it into people's heads. Because you can say something once, but you say it 3-4 times, and then people are like, "Okay, I get it." But that's the way. I've taught at university. I'm not a lecturer, but I think people get it better when you tell them again and again and again. And sometimes some of the things we repeat on the show. Why do we repeat it? Because it works. We repeat what is working. We change our ideas and we change our patterns. And when Mitch brings us a new pattern like this, we take note of it and we make sure we take note of it, because I can say, oh yeah, I like the stock chart of this one, and I think this one might go. But you know what? It's 50-50, really. It could go up, it could go down. Maybe they come out. Maybe the Fed says something bad. There's all kinds of different, things that can happen. But, those patterns, man, they make money. So if I see a good educational tip, I'll repeat it multiple times. If you don't like it, you don't have to listen to it. But that's, how we operate here. We're trying to educate traders. And I think it's important when we get a good educational tip that we repeat it multiple times.
That quote you just quoted.
Who was that?
It appears that it's unknown who actually said that.
Oh, okay.
So maybe just
I gave credit to somebody, but we don't know. Maybe I created that.
You did not create that. Well, let's bring on another pro here, Nick Chahine, who runs Benzinga's option newsletter. He runs Create Income with Option Spreads, sellspreads.com. And I got to say, Nick, I'm a little bit disappointed in you this morning.
Oh no, yeah. Well, that was. Yeah, okay. I know what you're going to say.
Because I saw you on Saturday at the boot camp with your camera on, and I expected the camera to be on today, and it's not.
It's like dark o'clock over here, man. It's just a different world in the morning.
We're in the longest days of the year. It's dark there still?
You guys have lights in California?
The sun's coming up here at 5 a.m.
We do have lights in California.
What are you, in Lower Uncton?
What?
Nobody knows. That's what Married with Children, Lower Uncton. There was always a dark cloud over Lower Uncton.
No,
Peggy Bundy.
You're dating yourself, Iacocca, Married with Children.
Married with Children. Somebody know Lower Uncton in the chat. So
by the way, that quote is not a quote. If you take any effective speaking class, that's the curriculum right there.
Okay. I think it works. Don't you think it works?
That's the method to deliver a message. If you're writing an article, if you're doing a presentation, that's what you do. You present it, and then you close with it and open another subject at the end. Anyway, speaking of patterns, I love this discussion, but you need to, I think what you're talking about patterns is rinse and repeat type of a deal versus an actual technical pattern on the chart. So like, for example, you mentioned gold falling, you don't know why. I bet you if you look at the dollar, you'd see it popping. So there's the pattern where one thing pops, the other thing responds. Right. So I do like that because that's what should drive every trader's decision. Find the pattern. I shorted banks based on that because they were chasing yields and I saw the topping yields. So I shorted banks, Goldman Sachs 3 times and Bank of America 1 time. I will short the Goldman Sachs pop today as well because it's we all expected them to give back financial engineering. And we'll see where it goes. So I will short it. But when I short something, I sell a call spread at a certain level that I think is going to be resistance, and I wait to see if it works out. So it's not like I go crazy and short the stock outright. That is not what I do. As far as the 50-50, you mentioned the thing of 50-50. Well, if you use options, you can skew that in your favor. You can choose your odds. That's why I do options, because I want edge. Whatever that edge for you is. Instead of being the 50-50, you can go to a level where you marry some technical know-how with a thesis that you have on the stock itself, and you set a trade based on a delta that gives you an edge, literally, mathematically.
We like edges. So
yeah.
Set us up something, maybe on a bank stock. If you're looking bearish on some of the banks, maybe set us up a trade here if you want.
Okay, so on Goldman. over the overnight high spike last night, I checked, it was like 377 or 76 something.
On the announcement.
Right. So mark that and see how today it behaves against that. And then I would set a trade that's a credit call spread, a bear call spread, where it's a finite amount of money at risk and a predetermined amount I could make. So I will know the percentage right away if I'm successful. And I will sell it for a certain period of time that fits my schedule and see how the price behaves against it. And then I track the odds of success of that and see how it changes from the time I opened it to decide whether I want to stay in it or not. So I enter it, I set my action plan, and I act accordingly. That's what I did last time, and it worked out 2-3 times. But last time it was a little more complicated because I also had naked puts on it, and then I put diagonals on my naked puts. So it was a very convoluted, very profitable trade. But the easy way, you fight with the spike, and you see if you can win, and you manage your odds. You don't just sit there and hope it works out. First of all, your maximum loss is predetermined, so you're okay with it. And then you track the performance as it goes along the way. That's the good thing about options, is because you mathematically have a representation of your odds. So it's an easy decision. If you do it willy-nilly, it's an easy way to lose money. If you set a process, then you can be diligent about it and be successful in the long term. So that would be on Goldman Sachs. And the reason why I mention it, it's not that it's a crappy company or anything like that. I'm just picking at the stock price action.
Yeah, you're looking at after. How often do you incorporate the after hours price action into your trading? Because when you look at an intraday chart, you don't see that. But if you go in the after hours, we use it. That's why me and Joel created pre-market prep, because it was so much information from the pre-market that people weren't using.
Then you're providing a service, because I don't know how people do it without it. I mean, you're just blind to a whole bunch of hours. I mean, if you want the most information, why would you turn it off? I have it on everything, and for that, if your platform doesn't provide it really accurately after hours, like TradingView is not really good at that, so I use Thinkorswim, and I make sure that everything is continuous. The ES, like if you just track the SPX, you miss a whole world. Yeah. You need to track the futures contract to see what the heck happens overnight. Like last night, look at the action last night. Ping pong between 42.80, well, the highs, and the 42.75. So my plan for today for the market, you have if you have a few bogeys, the biggest one is 42.64 on the ES, the futures contract, the E-minis. So write that down, and then you have another node, the POC from yet. So the point of control, the busiest point yesterday for the S&P is somewhere around 42.73. So plus or minus $1, that whole area is pretty important today. 42.77 is the developing POC right now. So that's the busiest thing overnight. So you have to note that. So there, I just gave you 4 levels to guide the trading for today as the market. And then,
hey, Dennis, I'd say a buddy of mine pointed out the SPOOs are going to, how they usually close from 4:15 to 4:30.
Yeah.
They're going to start trading that. That's going to.
When does that happen?
I didn't. He texted me, and I didn't look up the date, but it makes sense, right?
Because they close it. They're closing it twice now. I don't get that.
They're closing
it from 4:15. They used to close from 4:15 to 4:30, but now they close it from 5 to 6.
Well, because they've always closed at 5 to 6, because that ends the day, that ends the clearing day. They used to close it from 4, or they still are doing it, but I think it was just clearing, for clearing reasons. Yeah. They got everything, the margin, but now they're like, hey, why give SPY that, that 15 minutes of volume? And it's the same clearing day. Even if you do a trade up to 5 p.m., like if you do a trade up to 5 p.m. today, it's still going to clear for 6:20. It's still going to clear from today. So I don't know. I mean, I know you don't. Just to let you know, it's not going to be any more competition. It will, and I know the spiders are tight, but just keep an eye on that, because sometimes the futures move ahead of it. So I'll get the official date for you, but that's going to be starting.
We're trading for us, Nick.
It makes sense.
I'm looking. You mentioned gold. Now I'm looking at gold while you guys were chatting up the mechanics of that thing. So wow, pretty important day. Look at April 29th and what kind of pattern that draws. So is this a bottom for another rally back up in gold, or is this going to 156? 158, 156.
So you'd
on
look
the
at that
GLD.
low from the 29th at 164.47, like
Well,
the GLD.
it's not only that, it's not only from the 29th. It's repeated recently, June 18th.
Yeah, true. We cut through it again.
They are fighting for that neckline.
Yeah.
The assumption is it will hold until it fails. But if it fails, you can chase it down. That's a massive head and shoulders.
Yeah.
It might have one breather at 162, but if you're long gold, you might want to consider stopping out if they lose that 18th low, because the downside, you don't want to find out where it is. I mean, it could be just shallow, but what if it isn't? Then you're stuck. So if you're trading gold, the decision is to bail and rebuy it later.
We had this massive commodity inflation in the first part of the year that gold just really did not participate in, not like the other commodities. And now commodities are imploding, and gold is participating in that. I mean, it's like it should have been the environment. If you're going to inflate every single commodity, which we really were, oil and lumber and food, and it was just so many commodities that were inflating. And gold went up a little bit in April and May, but it wasn't like
somebody should drop it on Reddit and say, gold is like silver. Let's go. Like the SLV stock for some reason caught wind one time on Reddit, I think.
It has. Yeah, remember that?
Yeah, one time. I know. I was praying for that.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
Because I was wrong.
Like, no.
And I'm like, this is
they were fighting
the craziest
about it.
move ever.
Yeah, so talk about a conflict between the Reddit effect and actual tie between gold and silver. I mean, there's no reason why silver would shoot to the moon unless they found some new use for it, and then gold goes the other way. That was bizarre.
How much is the Reddit effect just that pattern recognition by the algos that they see? Oh, something gets starting to get to the top of talked about Reddit on Reddit, and then the algos, which is obviously not even Reddit traders probably, but the quantitative pattern recognition algos are all over to drive it. Is it not just like, I kind of see Reddit as like starting the fire, start just sparking it up, rubbing the sticks together, get the spark, and then the algos take over and really blast it off.
In the end, the Wall Street folks are going to win. They make the rules. I don't know if Reddit is winning. Whoever is running the Reddit rooms is definitely winning, because they preset their positions and then they go tell the masses, and the masses go do the fighting for them. That's what I'm imagining is going on in there.
Yeah.
But at some point, somebody should determine this is illegal. In my experience, is it not? You can't sit in the boiler room and dictate price action.
Well, some of it, and I don't know how they stop free speech, but this is, like what the definition when you're looking, at what pump and dump scams are.
It's not free speech. If I go in front of you and I give you an inside tip on something that's going to happen on a stock, and we act on it and we profit from it, isn't that illegal?
Well, I don't know if they have inside tips though, but they do have.
They're telling everybody we are going to massively buy this thing at a certain period of time.
That's called collusion, and that's where it would be illegal. That's collusion. That's more collusion, and that is illegal.
Pattern of collusion.
But I don't know where it stops. Where does freedom of speech?
The SEC needs to change up its rules, because now we have influencers that go and can profit from their own words immediately. That is not fair.
But I mean, the argument's been, in the past that we've obviously seen, influencers, even like Andrew Left to Citron, like he would put on a short position, come out with a short report, and then the stock tanks. So that's what they say. That's what Reddit's arguing is what's different.
So not what I'm saying. Andrew Left shouldn't be allowed to do what he's doing. For example, I'll use CNBC, because everybody watches CNBC. Why is Cramer restricted and the fast money folks not?
That's a good point too, because Cramer
he's not allowed to trade, but they trade willy-nilly and they talk their points all the time.
Yeah.
So I don't get it. That doesn't make sense.
It's a very fine line between just giving your market opinions, and obviously if you're you come on and you like a setup, Nick, you're going to talk your setups as well. I mean, and you say you're long the stock. But, and then there's another level, obviously, fast money, they move stocks. Jim Cramer moves stocks. He can't own stocks. He has them in his charitable trust.
Well,
it's a very interesting conversation.
Stocks. They tell you unusual options activity, somebody's buying so-and-so. They point everybody's eyeballs. You can literally see it move as they're saying it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but Nick's the opposite. He doesn't want the stocks to move.
Right?
He
Yes.
He wants them to be crazy.
I want nothing to happen.
And then sit still. He wants
I want
everyone
nothing to
get
happen.
excited.
Collect the premium. Bring
Let
it
everyone get excited.
I want
and
nothing
then say,
to happen.
"Oh, I'm not." And then, no, that's funny for you gold bugs out there. And full disclosure, I've been long GDX and GLD for way too long now. Instead of trying to like pick a bottom and with this is a washout, I look at those 3 lows that you had that were the low of the move, and I'm just going to split them. Old support, new resistance here. So until gold gets back above 1765 and closes above there, I feel, half number, 1750, 1700. That's the way gold works. So keep an eye on 1765 on the up. See if it can get, if this is like the old undercut rally, take out the lows and it's going to regain those lows and continue back to 1800.
So this is where you bring in new tools to them. I'm looking at let me switch to GC 1 second here.
Sure.
Where's my GC? Okay, so to speak about that, what did you say? 17 what?
I'm just going to spitball the 3 lows that it had with the low of the move. I'm saying 1765 because I see a low at 67.90, 61.20, 64.10. I just
boom, this
1765.
This year, the busiest, the point of control from a volume profile perspective for gold is 1775 ish. Okay. And there's one candle from back in February there's a doji candle, and that's the exact center of it. So that whole area is contentious. So here's the trade on gold. If somebody is a swing trader, they can buy this dip with a really tight stop. Like if you lose the bottom that we set on the 18th, you're probably going to go much, much slower, so you'd get out. But if you want to swing trade it up, not that I'm giving anybody advice, but if I wanted to trade the gold trade here, is buy the dip with a really tight stop, because I could catch a swing back up to 1800, maybe even 1820 with the right given set of circumstances. If this actually is, if this support will hold currently. Otherwise, it's a huge head and shoulders, and it's going way, way lower, like 1680, 1700 lower.
Nick Chahine runs Benzinga's options newsletter, which you can find the link to in the description of this video. It's also up on the screen right there, but you can just click on it in the description. Nick Chahine, always a pleasure. This time off camera, next time on camera.
We're gonna get this guy on camera.
I should have done it.
I even had before.
I even had a haircut yesterday with no mask on. No mask.
Hey, wow. You know what? They just got rid of the mask mandate in our in the Benzinga office building. For whatever reason, they've had that mask rule. You had to wear the mask when you're like in the public.
That was just for you. That was
just for me.
That's for Spencer Israel. They didn't trust the beard.
Right. No, but they got rid of it now, so mask free everywhere all the time. It's a great feeling. Nick Chahine, thanks a lot
for the opportunity.
A couple weeks. All right.
I don't even think our barber shops are open yet. I don't even think they're allowed to be. We're still in stage 1. We got to go to 4 stages to get them open.
Really?
Oh yeah, Ontario's still locked, like partial lockdown.
Oh geez. All right.
Yeah, we may never get out of it.
Well,
we have hardly any cases now too, but they're just over careful.
Are you at least allowed on your boat in the open water?
Yeah, you can go on the boat now. I got pulled over. I was like, "Where are you going?"
Yeah,
you can only go to your dock. You can't go out fishing.
I tell you one thing.
Now you can fish.
I'll tell you one thing with the masks off now. I've had to remember to like cover my mouth when I sneeze, because for like a year I haven't had to do that because
really
spray it all over everybody.
No, you
sneeze their mask.
Oh, because you have the mask. I got you.
Into the mask.
Yeah, the sneeziest, snottiest mask.
Oh God,
sneezing into your mask.
Oh man, how we died.
Too much information there.
I'm sorry. All right, let's bring it all back here.
Bring us back, please.
Let's go back to the chat and
do some ticker time.
Yeah, we'll do some ticker time to wrap up the show here. Let's see. I'm trying to remember. There was some stuff earlier in the chat that I had seen and I wanted to go back to. Oh gosh, no, I can't get there. Okay, I'm sorry if I missed your tickers from earlier. I think somebody asked us about Mara. I think we get asked about Mara every day.
Mara, Riot, Coin. Kathy,
Coin. Wait, let's go to Coin. Coin had its best day, I think, in a month and a half yesterday.
And Kathy applied to get a Bitcoin ETF.
Yes, she did. She's
so
like,
this actually started lifting. Is Bitcoin up this morning here, Joel? Because of that, I would
Yes,
assume?
it is.
And that probably didn't hurt. So not surprising you're seeing a lift in the Bitcoin stocks. What's Bitcoin doing? Let's bring up the Bitcoin chart because that's all that matters with Mara, Riot, and Coin is Bitcoin.
It's up $1,375. These are the futures at 35,900.
So we've come up a bit from that little cut through the classic. Look at that Gil Morales. I keep saying it wrong. I say the cut through, but he says it's the
Undercut.
undercut. The undercut and rally is undercut's a way better word than cut through. Gil, we keep taking your stuff and we mentioned you multiple times. Your ears must be ringing a lot. But that undercut and rally trick, which we actually called out, that was the potential for that, is looking like it's holding, and you're starting to get, you got to get up to that upper top of the range. Can you break out of there? You're still within a trading range here in Bitcoin, though, and you're right in the middle of it. So it's tough to trade things in the middle of it, but that doesn't hurt that, Kathy's trying to get an ETF now, and that's giving it some love here this morning. And you're seeing Mara, Riot, and Coin rally with a little bit of the Bitcoin rally. Bitcoin, yeah, big day for it. Maybe a catch-up rally. You're seeing anything tech that hasn't gone is starting to go. So do we have any other charts out there potentially that haven't gone? Because we know we did this exercise a week and a half ago, and that's when I went BABA, and we went into Teladoc, which I still have. I've sold the BABA, but I still have the Teladoc. But buying those just because they hadn't gone yet. I mean, you're starting to look, it's like combing the ditches. What tech stock is still hanging out that hasn't really run yet? That's what we're looking for.
There's a lot. So if you're talking about BABA, you can look at JD or Baidu, neither of which have really come that far off their lows.
Starting to come now, though. It would have been nice 4 days ago in the BABA because Baidu's up 20 points in 4 days.
What do you want? You want me to give you the BABA stocks that are bottoming today?
Yes. That's what we want. Give us to us.
No.
We don't have to swing at pitches in the dirt. We can swing at the pitches that are obviously up the middle.
I'm giving you the pitches that JD and Baidu have both come off their lows a little bit, not a lot.
Okay, so you think there's potential for higher there. Airbnb, somebody in the chat. There's one that hasn't gone. Okay. Is that a reopening trade or is that a stay-at-home trade?
Unclear.
What is the I think the market's unclear on this too because you got the reopening trades getting hammered, but they're like, is Airbnb a reopening thing? But then it's an alternative to hotels. Maybe it does better in that environment there. So I think the market doesn't know what kind of stock that is. I actually don't mind the Airbnb chart here. I had it already. I've actually sold it right in here so I could get the shares right where I sold. I had on for a swing from 136 to 149. I could rebuy my shares. I don't know what to think about this though. Like, I kind of like it. I have no position right now. I kind of like it. What do you think, Airbnb?
I don't think it's.
I'm on the fence.
I don't think it's a stay-at-home trade, right? Do people need? So reopening,
but it's alternative to hotel, so in that way, it kind of is. Do you know what I mean? If you went to a lockdown, people are like, Airbnbs.
It's both, right? Because you could use an Airbnb to like get away and
cottage
and like isolate, right? People, or you could use it to travel. I think that's what most people.
It's an everything trade. I like it. I like Airbnb.
There you go. It's both.
I should just.
It's both. There, you answered your own question.
We should just buy it. Should we buy it today, Spencer?
Airbnb. It's at the top of my shopping list.
It's on my. It was in my portfolio for about 3 weeks. I took it out about a week ago because it just wasn't going higher.
Okay. What about here, Penn? Penn is a good one. Someone brought a Penn.
I know. I'm long Penn. It hasn't been great. I don't even know what to say about Penn. It's very much underperformed. This is obviously getting hit because this is a reopening trade. And Penn Gaming has so many casino operations. The casinos have been smacked around and beat up. I own some Las Vegas Sands. I own some Penn. They've both been terrible. Reopening trade has come off. Does Penn, and Portnoy's cooled off too to a certain extent. Does Penn start to get some love here? Like I said, I'm still long it. I haven't, I'm not in love with this trade though.
Not much going on. He maybe got to wait till football.
Not enough going on, and the reopening trade is hurting this. So where we've seen, the cruise lines, the airlines, it's a casino. So, yes, it has some of the sports gambling operations, which helps it, but it's still a casino. And casinos are getting hit. So until we start to see some love in the reopening trade, it's hard to really get bullish Penn talking against my book. The only person who does that.
Someone just said to mention, Nick just said to mention Twilio. That one's come so far though, so that's not one that Dennis is interested in. I think right now, because it's come up so much. Oh, Affirm is interesting. They IPO'd, right? Affirm. It's sort of like Rent-A-Center, but like better, right? It's like a fintechy Rent-A-Center. That one is come off the low.
What's the symbol on that?
AFRM.
Definitely growthy fintech for sure. Off its low. That could be interesting. No,
I mean, if it could bust above 70, I mean, look at that, all those highs just above 70, just under 70. So potential breakout. I see 70, 68, 70, 81. You're $7 off there, but that would be the breakout. On the downside, trying to get it on the cheap. Looks like a bunch of lows at 60 and kind of in the middle. So breakout 70, 68, great support. It's 60, just around 60 even. I'm gonna let you guys take it away from here. I take it down. I don't know. We must have missed like 30 stocks here in the chat, but I wrote them down. I'm gonna go cover them on PreMarketPrep.com. So everyone have a good day.
All right, I'm going to spend the next few minutes just going through the morning movers. And Dennis, do you have any final thoughts before I do that? Final thoughts? Market.
It's a tricky market. Again, it's hard to be bearish stocks and the market's making new highs, but you have clear separation between tech and the reopening. The reopening trade is oversold. So if you're coming in here and saying, yeah, I'm shorting all the reopening stocks and yeah, I'm buying all the tech now, I think you're doing it backwards. I think that was the trade a month ago. I feel like it's long in the tooth. So I would just be careful of a switched rotation. Banks are going to be a driver here today, though, for the value trade. Let's see what happens with the banks. They obviously came out with good news. JP Morgan went red. It is now green. We do have the TLT, which is a driver for tech as well. Remember, TLT goes down. The Qs go down with that now. So keep an eye on that. TLT has been a driver actually into even this value trade. I mean, people look at the S&P futures first. One of the first things I look at is the TLT too. Start to see the TLT get hit. That's good for the banks. And sometimes the value names start to actually rally up with that. I don't know why that is, but just the pattern. Again, recognizing patterns that are happening here. So just be careful if you're like hammering, I don't want to own any reopening stocks, like even the pen, and I want to, own all the tech. The trade is overextended and crowded. So you can see that it's probably in the next couple days, you're going to see a reversal of that trend again, because some of this commodity trade, some of this value trade is definitely getting oversold.
And on the plus side, some of the reopening tech trade, dare I say, maybe is smooth on the overbought side.
Oh, I think so.
But then the other side of that is, well, a lot of these things are hovering around the midpoint of the low of the move to those all-time highs back in January, February. So
the ones in the midpoint, I never strike on. If something's like in the middle of nowhere, there's better opportunities. But there's a lot of stocks near the low. I mean, I sold my U.S. Steel up at 28 and 26. It's 23 now. It looks like it wants to break down again, so I'm not going long. But I don't know. Like, I liked the American Airlines before. I felt like 22 was going to hold, but then we said yesterday on the show it's been down here too long. I think it's going to take it out. If it got back up over 22, then you got the nice then you got the nice cut through. I keep saying cut through, undercut and rally. It's different setups. It's a very tricky day right now, though. I'm just cautious to chase tech, and I'm cautious to chase the bearishness on the reopening trade at this point in time.
All right. Thanks for those thoughts, Dennis.
Okay. Have a good day, everyone.
All right. Someone just mentioned, who was it? Stonebridge Advisors mentioned Argo Blockchain. That one trades on OTC, ARBKF. So not super liquid, no real heavy volume to speak of, but I guess they had some news this morning. They struck a deal. So this one's a growth play. Hasn't really come off the lows too much. So if that's the pattern that you're looking for, I unclear to me whether companies that trade on OTC necessarily behave with the rest of the market. So if the rest of the stocks on exchanges are doing one thing, if a company on OTC would do the similar thing if it's in the same field, maybe, but maybe not, because there's a lot less people that trade in this sandbox. What else were you guys watching here? Oh yeah, Beyond Meat. See, this is what I'm talking about, right? It's sort of in no man's land. right? Because on the one hand, you've come so far off those lows, right? From a month ago, you were down at $100 pretty much. Now you're at 155. The all-time high from January was 221. So you've come a ways away off the low. And there's two ways to look at this. You can look at this to say, oh, nice. All right, the trend is my friend. We've gone from 100 to 155. I like it to get back to the $200 area. Let's go, let's go, let's go. The other way to look at it is, oh, come on. It's already gone $50 in a month and a half. I can't chase it up here. This is tough. I don't know what you would do in this situation. It's tricky. It really is. Vegas is pointing out Zynga. Okay. Oh wow. These were all weak. All these publishers were weak after E3 for whatever reason. It seemed like EA was weak, Activision was weak, Zynga quiet here. Super quiet. Yeah, I guess the question is, well, whatever that high the move was, what is that? Yeah, $11. That's the ceiling. So anyway, okay. So here's what I want to do for the next few minutes here. No David Green this week. He's got his boot camp for his private subscribers. So I'm just gonna hang out with you guys till about 9:20, 9:25. We'll go through some morning movers, and let me go to this page, and we will and I'll pass the baton to Mitch, who will hang out with you guys for a little while after the open. And then I'll come back, and then we'll do SPAX Attack at 11 o'clock. So you got Mitch and I for the next couple hours here, just kind of hanging out, watching the pro, watching the news feed, watching the movers, and I'll turn Squawk on in a little bit. I don't know if I've turned Squawk on into the open before, so let's try. I'll turn the Squawk on, remind me, in about 15 minutes or so, and we'll listen to Charles for about 10 minutes until the open. CSX, you can see, is at the top of the down movers this morning. CSX is not actually down. They just have a 3-for-1 stock split today. So it's not actually down 66%. It's actually, I don't know what fair value is, but it's somewhere around $32. So all right, let's go up to the up filters here. At the top of my filter this morning is CERE, Cerebral Therapeutics. They announced this morning top line results for phase 1B clinical trial in patients with schizophrenia. Says the both doses demonstrated clinically meaningful and statistically significant in the PANSS total score. I don't know what that means, but I know that clinically meaningful and statistically significant, Jesus, are good words. And let's go to the chart. Biotechs, every day there's a new one, right? Okay, so we are already off the highs of the pre-market session. So that's always the bogey, right? That's what Joel talks about all the time, right? The high of the pre-market session is the bogey. If you're taking this thing from the long side after the open or whatever, you want to see it get through the pre-market high of basically $23, right? And if it does, until it doesn't, then no reason to get excited. But there's your bogey, $23. I'll catch up on chat in a minute. Just want to go through a couple more of these things. So we got CERE, DBGI. This one's been moving for a couple of days, right? Digital brands. Is this one getting some love on social? Yeah, this is getting some love on social, I believe. I don't know if it's Discord or Reddit or Twitter. Who can even tell anymore? What's it doing this morning? Wow. Okay. Looks like some heavy volume. How much volume? Yeah, 1.5 million shares. Heavy volume this morning. ORF. Is ORF back? Are we doing ORF again, guys? Is that what's happening? What? So they were granted a patent today? Whoop-de-doo. Please go to that daily. All right. Sell every pop in ORF is what I would do. Sell every single pop in ORF. What else jumps out to me on the up filters? Nothing really. Don't see anything too big. SoFi we talked about. What is High Tide? HITI. It's like maybe a lower float name or a recent issue. And Holly. I don't know that one either. All right, let's go to the down movers, and then we'll go to the chat. DMAC Diamedical is down 25% this morning. They announced interim results from a phase 2 trial. Says results affirm biological activity, safety, and tolerability, and indicate statistically and clinically significant reduction. So there must be. Sometimes you got to like dig deeper into these press releases to actually understand what they're saying, because the headlines are generally gonna be bullish, but clearly the market thinks otherwise. Also, they had a conference call at 8 o'clock this morning, so maybe they said something on the call that would counteract what the PR is saying. So DMAC, we got Celcuity, right? Follow-on offering, no size of the offering disclosed at the moment. So CELC is trading down. Chart, offerings. Unless we're in backwards markets, offerings always bad, at least in the short term. And Land's End, LE, is trading lower by 11%. Let me see a headline there. Heavy volume, though, so there's probably something going on. All right. Again, this is my movers tool. I use this every single morning when I get in to see what's up, what's down. Let's go into the chat. I know there was a lot that I missed, and we'll cover a few things. Let me scroll up. Yes, Donkey Limit, there are more fees on trading on the OTC markets. Your broker may charge you more fees, so keep that on your radar. Let's go here. You know what? I saw a couple ratings. Let's go to the ratings page here. I saw a couple interesting upgrades and downgrades this morning. We don't talk about these every day like we used to, but they can still move stocks. So this morning we are seeing KDP, Curry Dr. Pepper, upgraded at Wells Fargo to overweight, raising the price target to $42. So KDP probably trading higher. Wells Fargo can be influential. Yes, they are up 1.3%. What else do we have on ratings front? We have Tata Motors, Nomura Instinet, upgrading to neutral. CSX, upgrade to buy. Okay. At Citigroup, I mentioned the split there, so it's gonna probably trade higher, but the split's the more important thing today. What else do we have? Not much in the way of upgrades. Ford getting some positive ink from UBS, looks like. Crocs, just price target chasing. That's all this is. I don't care about the maintains. I don't really care about the initiations either on this. Anything? Nah. Downgrades. What do we got? KSU, they're getting acquired, so I'm gonna ignore that. Fox, FOXA, down at Guggenheim to neutral. Carvana, down at Piper Sandler to neutral. Let's look at Carvana. That's growth. How's that gone? Oh, wow. I didn't realize it was at all-time highs a couple days ago, right? That's all-time highs. Yes, it is. Okay, so down 1.5% this morning on the downgrade. Just to neutral, though. So, and you can look at, if you want to see, like, what is the general analyst feeling on a particular stock, you just search for it in the ratings calendar. You can go like whatever the last month. See, I mean, generally it's pretty bullish, right? Let's just go back even further. Let's go like the whole year. And no, I'm not doing it right. Let's go this way. There we go. 1 second. There we go. Oh my goodness. What are you doing? Hitting the wrong button. There we go. Okay. Not a super well covered stock. Sort of by date. You can see just as is the case with most stocks, sentiment is generally bullish for analysts. That's why downgrades to sell are so interesting, because generally speaking, analysts are bullish on given stocks. Okay, let's go to the chat, and I'm also going to turn on my squawk here, and we'll let Charlie squawk headlines and movers as they come for a few minutes here into the open. I'm going to hop off in around 10 minutes or so, and then I'll give the floor to Mitch. Where's my squawk? Here it is. Charles is, if you haven't heard Charles, he's the best. Frankly, he's the best. Okay, Damon's asking about GE. Let's take a look. Not reopening, not tech. I know they got some positive ink a couple days ago, right, from some analysts. Oh, wow. Or maybe that was this morning. Let's take a look. GE. No, it was a couple days ago. They do have the reverse split going into effect August 2nd. Let's keep that on our radars. Let's remember how, for whatever reason now, stocks are running into well, not reverse splits, but into normal stock splits. So reverse split is going to be a big day. 1 for 8. We don't have a ton of precedence right now for how a stock will trade into a reverse split, because usually when it happens to a stock that's been destroyed, right? Not one like GE, which is actually come off its lows a little bit. I was in this one, took a bath, cut my loss a while ago, right as COVID started to get going. You got some consolidation here, in the $13 area. As long as it holds these lows are all in 13, right, or the high 12s. As long as it holds that area, you're okay. But I have a bad feel for this one. I learned a lesson in GE. I tried to call a bottom. I tried to be the hero. This was, where was this? It was somewhere around here.
VVPR, Tottenham Hotspur, and Vivo Power announced successful completion of feasibility studies for SES projects. AMP, Ameriprise Financial, announcing $8 billion fixed annuity reinsurance transaction with Global Atlantic, Alpha Michael Papa.
I'm moving on either of those. All right, Trinidad. Is QS forming a pattern? I'm not the best pattern guy. I like to keep my analysis super simple. Well, it's forming a base, that's for sure. We talked about growth that hasn't gone. This is growth that hasn't come back. That may make it that alone makes it interesting, knowing how a lot of these other ones have come back a little bit. This one hasn't. Right? So going back to our conversation earlier from growth stocks that are still at their lows, this is one. Yeah, Nishan, I've also been looking at Salesforce. I fear that I missed it, though.
BCEL and MDWD resumed trading. Shares of MediWound dropping $3.05, down from $5.64 close on Monday.
Oh,
that's Michael Delta Whiskey Delta. Vericel, BCEL. Share is now down to $55. That's down $12.81 at the low.
All right. See, if you're trading these, you just heard that from Charles Squawked it as the stocks reopened here, right? You got MDWD and you've got VCEL, both trading lower, both
MediWound getting a complete response letter from the FDA, both MediWound and Vericel dropping on that news.
There you go. Complete response letter just means we're not going to approve your drug at this time.
Vericel, a partner with MediWound. There
we go. That's why Charles is the best right there. So this is now your big loser of the morning. One of your big losers of the morning. Stock was halted at about a half hour ago and just reopened for trade. Both of them. Heavy volume. As I was saying on Salesforce, this is one I've been on my list for a while and wasn't really doing a lot. Oh, it's got this nice consolidation period. Okay. I mean, I like that, but I don't know. I mean, they're about to close their Slack acquisition, right? Or let's see, did that close yet? No, that did not close yet. I love the company, right? I'm super bullish, like the SaaS space, specifically SaaS companies that cater to like small, medium-sized businesses, like Salesforce. I mean, Salesforce caters to everyone, really. But I love the SaaS space, and Salesforce is kind of the king of that space. I know it's expensive. What's the P on this thing? Forward PE. Actually, it's not terribly expensive. Forward PE is 69.
DDL Ding Dong IPO priced
That's the
at
IPO today.
$23.50 per ADS. That's Delta Lima.
Salesforce is on my list.
That's at the low end of the expected range.
I'm just going to catch up and chat here. See what I missed.
That's DDL, today's IPO.
Yeah, Eric, you're right. Dennis is just mad because the Habs lost last night. You're exactly right. Okay, let me catch up on a few of these tickers. CHRA.
VOSO. Wejo partners with Microsoft, Palantir, and Sampo Holdings to transform future of connected vehicle data. That's VOSO, MSFT, PLTR.
I don't know about this company. Who asked about it? Hector? Mission critical environmental services and byproducts to the power generation industry. Okay. Smaller company. Not super widely traded. You know what? Here. You just get some volume on this chart. That might help me a little bit. Yeah, oh my God. No volume in this thing. No volume. It just makes it harder to get in or out, right? When it's not a widely traded stock. I've never heard of this thing. I don't know if they have earnings coming up. Let's take a look. They do not have earnings coming up for a while, looks like. So I don't know. Oops. Sorry. And then the other one was NVIDIA from Kareem. This one's been just on fire. What does it say about this? What does it say about NVIDIA that hasn't already been said? It's going to 800. All right. Probably today. That's all there is to it. Or never a short of stock at all-time highs. I saw Jason Rassick in the chat earlier saying he's going to buy some Callaway Golf today. That one's come a long way. Come off. It's off at highs, but damn, look at this thing. Let's go back to
Richmond
last year.
Fed's Barkin says he would be ready to start tapering as soon as substantial further progress on employment has been met.
What does that even mean? I hate Fed speak, guys. Callaway Golf. Okay. You've got a level to lean on here, right? Lower the move. Double-ish bottom at 3150/32, somewhere in that area. This is reopening. We know reopening has been out of favor for the past couple weeks. Let me just catch up. What else am I missing in chat? Dr. Scotty Jones just bought Bingo. How is Bingo doing? I'm just curious why, Dr. Scotty Jones. Any particular was there a headline today that I don't know about? There was
JP Morgan, SEC charges JP Morgan's Neovest as unregistered broker-dealer.
Oh, great.
That's Julia Papamichael.
Great. I thought Neovest shut down. No? I could have sworn Neovest shut down. Maybe I'm wrong. All right, so BNGO joined the Russell 2000. Okay. So there was some forced buying last week that happened on Friday, though. I don't know what's in their pipeline. It's probably moving with the rest of the genomic space yesterday. Just winging it, man. Like the rest of us, man, just winging it. All right, just have a plan, have an out, man. Just have an out, please, for the love of God. Colin says he bought Neo. Let's look at Netflix. Colin bought Neo and Netflix. We don't talk about Netflix nearly as much as we used to. Oh man. This one hasn't gone. This is like one, there's like a bunch of those FANG names have gone. Facebook is going, right? Amazon's going, Microsoft's going, Alphabet's been going. Netflix has not been going. I said Amazon. Amazon's not been going, but it looks like it wants to, right? Look at Netflix. It has not been going. We've talked about, Dennis says tech is a little bit overbought right now. The longer a stock stays at resistance, the greater the chance it breaks out. It's not quite at resistance yet, but it's just consolidate. I could be talking to taking a shot here in Netflix, right? It's the big tech that doesn't get talked about anymore, right? Like go back a couple of years on Netflix. This is like the darling of the market. Just not get. I mean, just does not get talked about as much as the other big tech stocks do. For whatever reason, probably because it's they have other competitors now. All right, it's 9:25. Let me turn the squawk off. 9:25, and Money Mitch is going to hop on the stream here now, and I'm going to cede the floor to him. So why don't you all do me a solid and drop me a like if you could. I would greatly appreciate that. How many likes are we at today? Let's find out. I never check until the end of the show how many likes we're at. We are at 418 now. Let's get to 450 if we can. 423. Let's get to 450 if we can. All right, we had some great stuff today from Nick Chahine. Great stuff from Joel and Dennis, as always. Thanks for hanging out in the chat with me, everyone. Please remember all the information from our show is meant to be used as informational purposes, not for investing or trading advice. To get a free 2-week trial of the platform up on the screen, that's Benzinga Pro. You can go to pro.benzinga.com. Enter the code at the bottom of the screen, YouTube20, to get 20% off any Benzinga Pro subscription. I do want to real quick tease a couple of things happening today. We've got a big interview on Power Hour. The CEO of CleanSpark, CLSK, will be on the stream here at around 12:45 today. On the Power Hour, and then at 4 o'clock we've got the co-founder of Aurora Cannabis on the Cannabis Insider Show. I'm sorry, 4:30. 4:30. That's Terry Booth, the co-founder of Aurora Cannabis, on at 4:35 today. Smash a like, hit subscribe. Money Mitch is up right now. This stream hopefully will redirect to that. You shouldn't have to do anything. And that'll be it for me. I will see you guys in about an hour from now. Money Mitch coming right up.